Okay, so who all can be identity provider? Who holds your user information? Let's say in my company, I have Microsoft account. So my IDP will be my Microsoft account. In some organization, they have a Google Workspace. They don't have Microsoft and all. They have Google Workspace. So your identity, I mean, the system which holds your identity, your user information, your profile, your email, your image URL and all these things. That's a authentication metadata, user metadata. So to go to and OIDC, OpenID Connect. Okay, so once you logged in into Microsoft account can issue the token to these SaaS platforms, like Azure, all these different applications like Teams, Jira, Slack. It will issue the token. They will verify the token and they will allow you to access. So access SSO flow is simple. It can be done either through SAML. We will talk about how SAML and OIDC are different because it's not same. SAML uses XML. OIDC is the modern stack built on top of token-based authentication. Log into your Outlook, Microsoft. I'm able to log in. I see my Outlook and I see my email in and out. Now I open my Slack and I click on login with the Microsoft or login with SSO. It redirects me to the Microsoft login screen. Microsoft sees you are already logged in. It issues the token to the Slack. Then Slack grants you the access. And same flow works for any other SaaS platform which you have. Now, if we do the demo with Auth0, replace this Outlook Microsoft with the Auth0. You log in with the Auth0 web app. Now, you wanted to access Slack, Dropbox, Salesforce, Zoom. It happens in the same way. It says login with this. It will redirect you to the Auth0 login screen. You are already logged in, so it will issue the token to these different platform, and you will be able to log in to that account. So here is the flow. You can say user, I'm doing the action. Service provider, like I wanted to access Slack and Jira, that's a service provider. And IDP, where the identity is stored in either in the Azure Active Directory or Okta or Auth0. Even when we are talking about the Microsoft, it indirectly uses the Azure AD only because Azure AD holds the user identity, right? So when you access to the application, the Slack application, because obviously it will not redirect you directly. We have to configure service provider and identity provider in such a way so that they can communicate with each other. You will log into the Slack. It will redirect you to the IDP platform. SAML auth request. I mean, we are talking about SSO SAML here. So there SSO can be done with the SAML or OIDC. Let's talk about SAML. It redirect to the IDP with the SAML auth request. Okay. If you are not logged in, you will enter username password. And then this IDP will send a SAML assertion via browser. It happens through the HTTP browser. It sends you the browser. Service provider, the application Slack Jira will allow you to access. So this is a simple flow of simple SSO SAML. And it all happens through the XML because all these SAML auth requests, SAML auth response, these are XML requests which we are sending to the IDP and IDP is sending to the browser. And how overall SSO works is you are able to log into the multiple application in the similar fashion. So here you can see user logs into the app 1. You can log in with the OIDC or SAML that you can decide. The identity provider will return you the SAML assertions or ID token. If you are using SSO SAML, then it will return you the SAML assertion response. If you are using OIDC, then it will return you the ID token. And that application will allow you to access the app. Same way, you can do the login to another application. Because for one IDP, you can have multiple service provider. IDP, identity provider, and service provider Slack, Jira, Confluence, time reporting tool, multiple applications. And we can use only single identity provider which provides the identity of the user. Okay, so this is SP IDP. This is how all these things are communicated. Hi everyone, so these are the two diagrams which I'm using to explain SSO with SAML and SSO with OIDC. So, I mean, we have already explained this. The major difference between SAML and OIDC that it uses a SAML assertion, which is XML based document, which contains the user identity. So who is sending this? This SML response is being sent by IDP to SP, which contains the signed token, right? So this contains the user identity attributes which the service provider wants to show on the application. So it uses the enterprise setup like HR tools, legacy SaaS applications. I mean, it is still widely very much popular. It is purely for authentication, not for APIs. And how the OIDC works? The main difference is here we are using SAML XML document, which IDP is sending to SP. Option, I mean, it is, you can also encrypt it. In OIDC, OIDC is auth 2.0 plus ID layer. So you can see it's like a modern JSON web token. When you talk about GWT thing, it's like something modern on top of that. OIDC is auth 2.0. Auth flow we have already discussed in detail. Now we have added ID layer on top of that. So when you try to log in an SP OIDC client, it redirects you to the IDP where you authenticate with credentials. Then IDP will send you the authorization code. You will exchange the authorization code with access token. So if you remember in auth 2.0, this was happening. Like auth, the authorization server was redirecting to the client using callback URL, sending the code with it, and then we were exchanging that code to get the access token. Same thing is happening in the OIDC. We will redirect it to the OIDC IDP. Okay, we will enter the credentials if we are not logged in. Then it will redirect you with the authorization code, and we will exchange the ID token and access token. So the flow is still something auth 2.0. And it is just adding this ID layer on top of it, right? So your IDP, identity provider, may be Auth, Zero, Google, Microsoft, OIDC IDP, and this is OIDC client. So here, what we are exchanging the ID token, which tells who is the user. Access token to access the API, refresh token for the session renewal. Now the difference between OIDC and SAML. SAML uses XML. OIDC uses JWT, right? Use case of the SAML is the web app because it uses the web. But for OIDC, it can be like single page app, mobile app, web app. I mean, in the SAML, the token type is SAML assertion. In OIDC, it's a JWT token. So these are like major differences. So we will talk about. Hi everyone. So let's start our journey with SSO SAML. So we are going to explore what all we need to do. What is this SSML? SAML attributes which we need to specify in the SAML request, and how IDP reacts to the SAML request, how the SAML response is constructed and sent back to the service provider. And then we will talk about IDP, right? So let's get started. So this is the good question, like what is this XML look like? XML is still widely used. It's not like after JSON came into picture, we don't use XML at all. No, XML is still widely popular for the inter-system communication, where as IDP and SP is communicating with the SAML assertion. You can see it has these attributes. SAML auth request contains the ID, unique identity, version, issuer instance. So these are the couple of attributes of the SAML request. Then we have assertion consumer ACS URL. This is known as the ACS URL, which we need to configure while doing SP and IDP configurations. Okay, so you can see issuer, name policy, auth context. And here inside this, you will also specify the attributes which will be sent by the IDP to the service provider, because IDP holds the identity. After the authentication is done, IDP will send these SAML attributes like an email ID or user ID, auth ID, some attributes which will be consumed by the service provider to register the user. Like here you can say name ID attributes. So auth request, this is the root element, ID is unique identifier. This assertion customer URL, this is the URL where the IDP sends the SAML response. ACS URL, which we need to configure on the IDP, that tells the whole this SSO SAML configuration. Okay, once the user is authenticated, SAML send the SAML response to this ACS URL, customer URL, consumer service URL. Okay, this is like a SAML. We will try to debug, we will try to see this live on the Chrome browser when IDP initiates, SP initiates the authentication and IDP send back the SAML response to the browser. We can also, there are some SAML tracer tools, Chrome add-on, using which we can check the SAML request and SAML response. So overall, what is SAML? SAML is open standard SSO format that allows identity information to be exchanged securely between IDP and SP. I mean, the typical basic definition, it is being exchanged between IDP and SP. what it contains the identity information of the user. Why it's XML based? I mean, it was legacy. It's still used in the enterprise SSO. SAML use XML structure. It widely supported in the legacy enterprise and still being used everywhere. SAML enable user to log in once via IDP like Okta, Azure AD, and access multiple application. I log in with the Azure AD and I will be able to access all the different applications. Even if it's a centralized login, I don't need to log in again and again. My identity is stored, my credentials is stored in the Microsoft, which is already secured enough. So nobody can steal my identity from there.